I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Open Public Meetings Act. Statement: the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of the Act, the Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof, posted at the Augusta, Branchville, Lafayette, and Sussex post offices, and notice sent to the New Jersey Herald, Star Ledger, and the clerk of the boroughs of Branchville and Sussex, and the townships of Frankfort, Lafayette, and Wantage. Mission statement: High Point Regional High School, in partnership with staff, family, and community, is dedicated to the quest for individual excellence by fostering high standards of achievement. We prepare students to become responsible and productive members of a diverse society. Roll call.
Mrs. Comer is not here. Mr. Notaro? Here. Mr. Kehoe?
Present.
Mr. Dunn?
Here.
Mr. Woodcue?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Mr. Encliffe?
Here.
Mrs. Anderson?
Here.
Mr. Bewley?
Here.
Dr. Ripley?
Here.
Okay. Executive session. A motion will be made at the High Point Regional High School Board of Education in an executive session to provide an update on personnel, legal, and negotiations items, which are exempt from public participation pursuant to New Jersey Public Law 1975, Chapter 231, Open Public Meeting Act. Any discussion held by the board which need not remain confidential will remain public when appropriate. The minutes of the executive session will not be disclosed until the need for confidentiality no longer exists. The board will reconvene in public session in the cafeteria annex at the conclusion of the executive session. I need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. I need a motion to return to this public session.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. We will move to unfinished business. Anybody have anything? Okay, we'll move on to the approval of minutes for the regular meeting minutes of May 22, 2018, the executive session minutes of May 22, 2018. I need a motion.
Second.
Any discussion on the minutes? Roll call.
Mrs. Comer?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Woodcue?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Encliffe?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Bewley?
Yes. Okay, public comments. Take public comments on agenda items only. If you have a comment, step to the podium, state your name and address. In accordance with the Open Public Meetings Act, we will open public comments for agenda items only at this time. Each speaker should state his or her name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes to address the board, which will be timed by me. We will limit this section to no longer than 45 minutes. Please be respectful and mindful that your comments are being recorded. Anyone? Okay. This is the agenda item, just so you know. About an agenda item.
No, not exactly. I have come up with an agenda item. I just have some
There's
questions.
another section at the end.
Okay, no, wait.
You can talk about any.
Apologies.
All right. Okay.
Those are all those formalities. Sorry.
Yeah. All right. Presentations. Student council, what's your name?
Good evening. I would like to thank you all for supporting the Student Council and for listening to our monthly updates every meeting. Some things our council accomplished this school year are the homecoming football game and dance, the Powder Puff football game, the holiday bazaar, the multiple pep rallies, wildcat periods, and spirit weeks, and we donated money to the DeCarlo family. We are recognized as a council for all the things we have done for our school and were awarded with the Community Smile Award. We also completed our election for next year, so as I call your name, can you please stand? Nick Thomas, President. We have Abby Block for Vice President.
here with a sad heart. I want to thank the administration for handling the untimely death of a student. They don't do everything right, we don't do everything right, but thank you. Thank you for your support. Dr. Ripley, thank you for your support. Of course, we always can do things better, but as a parent, it's very difficult. On that note, we'll move on, but I want to thank the administration for your support. I was thinking this past couple of weeks as my role as HPEA president. And I led my thoughts to my mother, who always said, you know, we're a community. And we are a community of several communities that come here. So we're a community that's coming into a community. And we're members. And we have faith in that community that we support each other as a community. And I have a heavy heart that we are at impasse at this point and going into mediation. Besides that, we are still professionals. We are teachers. We are advocates. We are lovers of our children. When they're hungry, we feed them. When they're sad, they cry on our shoulders. We're there for them. A lot of us have advanced degrees, and a lot of us continue to educate ourselves because technology, I'm lost sometimes. We have to be ahead of the curve, and we're there for our kids as a community, which you entrust upon us. You're our employer, we're the employees, and it's very difficult at this time to be strong for everyone, but we will still be professional, and we hope that you regard us as we regard you as our employer, as special people for our children. And like I said, we hope to a quick resolution in the mediation process. Thank you.
Okay. Regarding the initial comments, what has happened in the High Point community for the last week and a half, I would like to state that publicly that the crisis management team, the staff, Mr. Talame, and the administration, and our teachers have demonstrated the word community to a degree of empathy and compassion that has served to bring us together to a degree that demonstrated something with which I'm hopeful that all of us in this room as community members are proud, because I am proud to be affiliated with this community and to have seen the manner in which they came together to endure, overcome, and to address a tragedy is something that, while very emotional, is something that I'm extremely proud of, and believe that Mr. Talame's handling of it was exceptional, and our staff was exceptional, and I just wanted to say that publicly.
All right, principal's report, Mr. Talame.
Thank you, Mr. Good. So I just wanted to follow that up almost a week ago, so this room was a very different conversation, and that was a very difficult conversation for us all to go through. And I want to thank staff, first and foremost, the students that are here as well, for the support through this difficult time. It's by no means over, you know that, as we get ready for graduation, but I'm absolutely to echo Mr. Caruso and also Dr. Ripley's words, was a community effort. And I hope that we never have to go through that again as a community. But with those situations that occur, we know that we always can look back and improve on things. We know that we always can do better. We hope that the most important thing is to support our students moving forward. It was a difficult time. It is a very difficult time. I just wanted to thank the staff for being there for students every single day. not just in these situations, but in all situations, it does mean a lot to us. You know that, and without you, we would not be able to get through these difficult times. It's a prayer that we don't have this situation rise again. Just a real quick report on my behalf, Mr. Daly. One is the end of year schedule. We're rocking and rolling. Today was our first half day. We have our assessments for period 1, 2, 3, and 4 for all students starting tomorrow. We'll kick off the graduation rehearsals for seniors in the afternoon at 12:30. That's our first chance of rehearsals, and then rehearsing on Thursday and Friday as well. Our senior dinner and awards will be here tomorrow at 5:30. We'll be in the cafeteria. Administration always enjoys that. We always get a chance to serve all the families and parents and students. We always get a nice time to laugh and socialize, and that's much needed as well. And then we'll have 7 o'clock, we'll be in the awards in the auditorium tomorrow night. And then obviously graduation is slated for Friday. It looks like right now, as of Tuesday 19th, this time, the weather looks okay for Friday. We want to be outside, we all know that, so let's hope that continues to be that way as well. I want to thank the staff again, as we, I always say, how we finish is how we start. And I'm really appreciative of all your hard work, dedication, as we have a little bit longer school year than we anticipated when we started the school year. We know that some schools have much longer school year than we do. So we take that for what it is, and we appreciate that you're going to work hard to finish it strong for the school year and wrap up this week. Then I can shift over to the athletic report. Mr. Van Orden gave me a very detailed report. In the sake of time, I'm just going to skip through a couple of sections. He has sees and summarized here very eloquently, and a lot of those things we've updated kind of going through. I just wanted to hit a couple of the key awards throughout this year, and then some participation numbers. As you know, many of you were there. We had the Hall of Fame banquet on June 7th at the Lafayette House. That was our 6th year that Mr. Norton has coordinated that. That's our Hall of Fame banquet, plus also our end of year sports awards programs. And that was very, very well received. The packed house again. Chester Duke Longport, class of 1974. Bob Lutheran, class of 2000. Shannon McAvoy, class of 2007. And Jessica Brewer, Lane, class of 2008, were our inductees this year. Very tremendous job done, Mr. Norton. I think it's one of our best nights because we have our current athletes sitting and listening to our former athletes. And there's such a special bridge and connection, as many of them said, how athletics has shaped them throughout their life. And be able to speak to our students is really a nice event. So kudos to Mr. Norton for that night. We also had the National Women, they get a summary of the year. National Women and Girls in Sports Day, January 28th at the Seton Hall University. High points nominee was Katie Badalero, Paso Long Scout Athlete. Sawyer Fenlon, that was May 11th at Lauren Farms. The Morris County Football Foundation Scout Athlete, that was Chad Vasily, that was at on March 22nd. Katie Badalero was also honored on May 20th on Pines Manor, South Jersey, as an NJSIAA Scout Athlete from White High School. And there's about over 400 student athletes around the state that are recognized at that event. Senior Chad Vasily and junior Tyler Wingle were honored on November 19th, 2017 as the Rising Star Scout Athletes at Rider University. And Chad also won an additional $150 scholarship for his costume school on the football field and the classroom. And Tyler will be eligible for a scholarship next year as a senior. They get recognized 1 year as a Rising Star, they get recognized the second year, which is where the scholarship comes. Our participation numbers for the school year that Mr. Van Orden has provided. In the fall, we had a total of about 27% participation rate. In the winter, we had about 20% participation rate. This is overall, and the spring, we had about 29% overall. So 20 to 30% range is that, and that's pretty much where we are year to year for each season. There's a breakdown with boys and also girls. Okay. Any questions on any of those things? Thank you very much.
So is this going to be perfect on the graduation?
That's what I'm hoping for, Mr. Crusoe. That's what I'm hoping for.
Good evening. As we were preparing for tonight's meeting, we were serenaded by Joe Lombardo and his jazz ensemble. Frequently reminded how amazing our students are. They come here with an interest and they leave here with a finely tuned passion. Just an amazing performance. I have it playing in the background in my office. Teresa and to your department, congratulations on how you shape and harness talent. Really spectacular. If anyone hasn't seen it, just go on our website, hit the live stream icon on the upper right. We have 45 minutes of just wonderful, wonderful music. So congrats to Joe. Although there are criticisms of Park and of bureaucracy and of the New Jersey Department of Education, the Park assessment window closed 10 days ago, and Park results were preliminary release came out yesterday. And we're extremely excited, and today we have 5 math teachers, I believe 5 math teachers, Rachel, Christina, Jill, Kirsten, Brian, and I hope I didn't forget anyone. Our Park performance was strong, but in particular, I would like to highlight success in an area that we targeted for improvement. It was a goal of, the administrators had it as a professional development goal. It was a goal that I announced here when I presented last year's results, that one fundamental math course, which is a graduation requirement, would be targeted for improvement. And I want to thank Mr. Brian Grella for his leadership and the math department for their outstanding commitment to student achievement. In July, the math teachers came in, they looked at the specific question breakdown from the 2017 results, zeroed in on areas to improve on, rewrote the curriculum, made a year-long commitment to improvement, came up with a plan to restructure how we administer Park by pulling Algebra 1 out of the regular assessment period and giving it at a later date. But more than anything, students respond to leadership, and I believe our Algebra 1 students responded to their teachers. That's the type of item analysis you get. It doesn't look very exciting, but it takes every standard assessed and says whether your students did poorly or not poorly. We had a 100% increase in the passing rate. This required for a thank you, Mel. I think it's important to note that literacy is a fundamental element of math. If students can't read and comprehend word problems, they can't answer the problem. So when we have a large assessment where success like that occurs, we all own it. So congratulations to our entire staff. 41% needs to be viewed in context. Park is not like any other assessment. The state averages are below 50%. Our priority is on growth and improvement, not on a percentage that relates the way a classroom assessment might or the way that the HESMA might. So congratulations to us for really targeting in and having a lot of success in that one particular area. Our overall Park passing rate improved. An area that is somewhat difficult, our 11th graders do exhibit test fatigue, so we almost have to take their results with a grain of salt. But really great job across the board in administering tough assessment. The students are fatigued. I mention this almost every month, and they look for us for encouragement that they can do it, they will do it, and they did very well this year. So we're excited about that.
Campbell, may I
yes,
say something
sure.
for a second? Math teachers that are here, since July, I'm on curriculum committee, and I know we only get to hear really good things that are going on in curriculum committee. But since July, since you guys met and put this all together, and Brian was talking about it, Seamus was talking about it, they have been shouting from the top of the board table how great the math department is in coming together to work on this terrible problem that we had, which is Algebra 1, was a terrible problem. And how you guys just like owned it, and you took it, and you ran with it, and you worked your butts off. Not that everybody doesn't work their butts off, but Algebra 1, come on, it was rough. And then to spend special time with those kids during the rest of the Park testing to make sure that they had extra, what do you call it?
The blitz.
The blitz, the snap blitz. And they wouldn't tell us what he knew this today, but he wouldn't tell us until he got here in front of the screen, because that's a big deal.
I also
big deal.
thank you for reminding me. Linkit is a data warehousing software that we're purchasing through our Title I grant for next year. The math department was extremely responsive to it. What Linkit does is it, rather than trying to take a test that you create and find how individual questions connect to certain standards, it basically has a data of hundreds of thousands of assessments, and you enter in the standard that you want to assess, and It gives you a 45-minute assessment that students can take it as a benchmark and really figure out, are there some areas that we can highlight for improvement.
And Mrs. Anderson, it took away from the rest of the courses because they were being tutored in that subject area out of the rest of their English and history and social studies. So it's always a cost. Yes. It's always a cost. But it worked out for what you wanted to say. And our math department's great. We have accounts. But it took a toll on the rest of the courses. So you don't have that.
So Lincoln is a software device that we'll be contracting with for next year. And it does provide that same type of analysis for all disciplines. So we're excited about that. I think the message is that when you target a problem and you zero in on it and you focus on it as a team and success happens, you learn from that and try and model it in other areas. So we're excited about that. Starting Tuesday, we have a list of students that have failed MCA, Algebra 1, and Geometry. And the state of New Jersey requires 3 years of math, those 3 specific courses, of Algebra 1, Geometry, and a year beyond Geometry. What we have found is, statistically, when students begin to fail multiple math courses and they have to repeat that course, it becomes quite burdensome and often is a pathway towards being in no credit status and then not graduating. So trying to ensure that students are not overly burdened with multiple math classes junior and senior year has been a priority. So we have 8 sessions that we're offering starting this coming Tuesday and running through mid-July. It's very well structured and organized. There's a 2.5-hour window in the morning, 2.5-hour window in the evening, and students who need to demonstrate proficiency, but also to have a little skin in the game. We're not just giving them a 60, but a student that gets a 56, who perhaps didn't have a great year. If they come in July and they're willing to pay the price and willing to work with our teachers, we're excited that we can put them in a position to earn a 60 and to have credit and to move on. It's also available as an enrichment. We know that we will not have quite as many students excited for that, but we hope that some do. Take us up on that. It's potentially an opportunity for incoming students who may need to strengthen their math skills to use that as well. Summer days, which is an attachment for your consideration. Primary focus this summer, curriculum development. We have a long-standing tradition of when we teach a new course or when a teacher's never taught a course, we award workshop days to that staff member to develop the curriculum and become familiar with it. Starting last summer, any HP course that's going to run next year, we provide 1 day for that teacher to look at the test results from this year and to see how they might want to revise the curriculum based on that results. Those are our district goals, using data to find solutions for instruction is one of our 3 goals this year, and we're continuing to look at that. We also have summer days, particularly for English 10 and Algebra 1, the specific courses that need to be passed for graduation. So we're going to continue to look at test results and try and improve accordingly. Staff evaluations are 99% complete. There could be 1 or 2 that are lingering, but I just want to provide some data on this. Yesterday, I presented this to our DEAC committee, and I'll just run through some numbers rather quickly. First off, the state has a new program called the Reflective Practice Protocol. We're very proud of the fact that we were one of 17 high schools that piloted this. This is the whole idea of filming teachers and having teachers self-reflect and self-assess. The state took that and made it into a formal option, and it's called the Reflective Practice Protocol. If you are a tenured teacher who scores 3.5 or higher, you can take your 2 observations and you can choose to have one of the observations be your announced observation. One of your observations to be unannounced. All teachers still have to have one surprise, unannounced, you don't know when it's coming observation, that's the law. But for the observation where you predetermine the date and the period, in lieu of that, you can have a reflective conference with your supervisor and talk about your practice and do that. And I was really proud. Most districts have no one doing it. And we asked some of our teachers and said, look, we were one of the schools the state asked to help create this. It would be nice if we could try it. So a special thank you to Teresa, who's here tonight, Steve, Chris, Mike, Barbara, Kevin, Erin, for agreeing to go through what really is a little more work. Hopefully it was rewarding. It wasn't too cumbersome. Our results from this year, when administrators go in to observe the classroom, there are 10 specific things that our rubric requires them to look at. These percentages show the frequency with which teachers receive a perfect 4 in that domain. I think it's always encouraging to see that 2A is by far, every year so far, our highest scored area. Because what 2A says is, when you walk in a room and you sit down after a few minutes, is there warmth? Is there a personal connection in that room between the students and between teacher and student? And obviously we do an excellent job of that. 3 areas that were lower than others. They're areas that I believe are particularly hard to score a perfect score on. Questioning, assessment, and flexibility. SGO scores, I think what you see is the Achieve New Jersey system. It is a rubric, and our faculty is now in the 5th year of using that rubric. Well, you would hope you would see mastery and consistency if you use the same rubric for 5 years. And I think what this data shows is high achievement and consistency. Our summative scores this year were almost identical to last year. Those are really high. 63 teachers ended up with a 3.5 or higher. And if you look at our results over the last 5 years, you'll see a gradual increase and perhaps a leveling off of highly effective. Statewide, it's far more common to see the reverse. Many districts have 35% highly effective, most effective. We have a veteran staff that continues to demonstrate excellence through observation. So, any questions about that? I believe it's been, I think I speak for everybody in the room, it was a challenge at first to go from the much more personal observation method of I come in, I observe, and I give you a narrative write-up to a little bit more of a structured rubric, but these are our end of the year results, so congratulations to our staff. Aldo Diodino did an outstanding professional development activity last week. He had the director of world language at TCNJ come up. I thank the board for their financial support to pay him. And our world language department spent the entire day out of the board conference room working on the concept of language acquisition. And this gentleman is an author and expert in the science of how we pick up language. And that's really his focus as a world language professor is the neurological and scientific research to how you learn and master a language. It was great. They were right next to my office all day. It was loud. They were shouting. It was robust. It was really engaging. So thank you to Aldo for doing that. Aldo also took our entire world language department to, I think it was Randolph for the day. So they went off site, had a day together, observed the department doing something they would like to consider doing, then brought in an expert, and I think they were very excited and invigorated by that experience. Just a few snapshots that I took this afternoon. Every month I try and highlight one thing. End of the year, simply what's going on in the classroom. Our STEM symposium, Becky Sarno is here. We have 3 teachers that now in their 2nd year have done something really special where they combine technology, science, and math, and they really work to build the foundation of an integrated curriculum. Economic students, AP test is over. It's not all fun about it. It's kind of fun. Actually, that is fun and games. But it's fun and games and learning in AP Econ. thank you for your approval. Every now and then we have a special trip, and I ask the board to approve it retroactively, and I know that's something that we should try and minimize. This was an opportunity that came up since the May meeting, so thank you for your support. Serena Harris took her students to Frankfurt School, and they had a great experience together. Our Tech 1 students rocking it with their plaques. Very proud of their handiwork. Joan, perhaps those are some of your students? Right, okay.
Like all of my students.
Okay, nice. And this was pretty big on social media. Joy Carter, who we really gave a lot of thanks and appreciation for, 20 plus years as a passionate biology teacher, revised her entire teaching career to take on chemistry, and she's killing it. And this was really neat. They did crash test dummies, so every student had to create an airbag and put an egg in there and see if it could survive, and obviously the students had a lot of fun with that. Look out, because we have self-defense coming our way, and Duffin and Levansky. Really excited about it. They tried to get this going last year, thankfully it worked out this year, and for next year, self-defense will be part of our phys ed curriculum. We've had a sexual assault prevention program this year. We have this as a new element of our health and phys ed. We need to be vigilant and dedicated and prepare our students for safety. Math department going out of Wanted School. We've done a lot to build connections with our students. So you saw Serena taking students out of Frankfurt. Here's our math department at Wanted School. And the fact that kids from Wantage, New Jersey are taking selfies at the Met is pretty awesome. So we take kids around the world and back to really great places. Thank you for your support of those endeavors. The STEM Fair, I believe Aaron Baker may have been the driving force behind that. Another event where elementary school students are in our building, working with our students and our staff, doing great things. And last but not least, it wouldn't be June if we didn't have the event of the season. So thank you to not just Joan, but to our entire school that fully embraces all students as equal members of our school community. And they come out in droves, and it gets chills up your spine thinking about this event, which is really special. So those are our curriculum elements. Great, thank you. Thank you.
Move on to action items. Curriculum instruction, Mrs. Anderson.
Okay. Items 1, 2, and 3, we accept the faculty attendance report, the student attendance report, and the suspension report for the month of May. Going to move items 4 through 9. 4, it's recommended that we approve the harassment, intimidation, and bullying report for the period of May 22nd through June 19th. Number 5, it is recommended that the board approve the field trips listed on the attached rosters. Number 6, it is recommended that the board approve the professional development activities listed on the attached roster, attachment A6. Number 7, it is recommended that Seamus Campbell be appointed as affirmative action chairperson for the 2018-19 school year. Number 8, it is recommended that the board approve the revised, replace new job descriptions as listed below. First one is B1, Director of Curriculum and Instruction. Second is D2, Assistant Principal. The third is D4, Assistant Principal, Athletic Director, Supervisor of Health and PE. And a new Supervisor of Pupil Personnel Services. And number 9, is resolved that the Board of Education approve the completion of the previously approved and agreed upon superintendent's quantitative merit goal for the 2017-18 school year to ensure student achievement throughout the district and teaching staff mean SGO score of 3.5 or greater will be earned. The attachment affirms that the SGO score of 3.57 was attained. Okay, moving those items, I need a second.
Second.
Okay, any questions? conversations? Comments? Okay, hearing none, roll call.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes, 1 through 8, abstain 9.
Mr. Kehoe?
Yes, 1 through 8, and 9, I previously voted against them, against it again tonight, for the same reasons.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Boykin?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Ancliffe?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Comer?
Yes.
Mr. Beely?
Yes. Personnel, Mr. Dunn.
Okay, I'd like to move item 1. It's recommended by the superintendent that the Board of Education accepts with regret the resignation of Eric Carlson, assistant principal, effective July 1st, 2018. Second. Any discussion on that?
I would like to say that I've worked with Mr. Carlson for approximately 15 years as a social study teacher. He was an accomplished swim coach, soccer coach, award-winning swimming coach. I think Herald Coach of the Year on a number of occasions, highly regarded in that capacity. And then he came back and left the classroom and became the Dean of Students, and then was placed in the position of assistant principal. He is someone that we've come to know quite well, someone with an impeccable work ethic, someone who I have great expectations for his future as a principal as he goes to move on to career opportunities that I'm sure he will excel in his future. I believe that he's been prepared for that position very well. It's time for him, and I'm very excited for him. And I just wish him well. I wish him nothing but the best, and thank him for his commitment and time to this board, to the district, to the students, and the community. Thank you very much, and congratulations, Mr. Carlson.
No other comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Kehoe?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Boykin?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Ancliffe?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Comer?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Beely?
Yes.
Okay, I'd like to move items 2 and 3 together. Item 2 is recommended by the superintendent, the Board of Education approves the position of athletic director supervisor be abolished, and that Mr. Todd Van Orden be assigned to the position of assistant principal, athletic director, supervisor of health and physical education, effective July 1st, 2018 for the 2018-19 school year. And item 3 is recommended by the superintendent, the Board of Education approves the position of director of special education be abolished, and that Mr. J. Gibson Carter be assigned to the position of supervisor of pupil personnel services, effective July 1st, 2018 for the 2018-2019 school year. Seeking a second on those items.
Second.
Any discussion on those? Okay.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Boykin?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Ancliffe?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Comer?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe?
Yes.
Mr. Beely?
Yes.
Okay, move items 4 through 7 together. 4 is recommended by the Superintendent Board of Education approves a contract revision for a Carroll teacher of music to reflect salary, the full-time equivalent of .8 for the 2018-2019 school year. Item 5 is recommended by the Superintendent Board of Education approves a contract revision for Patricia Osorio, teacher of Spanish, to reflect salary and a 1.0 full-time equivalent for the 2018-2019 school year. Item 6, it is recommended by the Superintendent and Board of Education approves the contract revision for Sally Peer to reflect an hourly salary rate of $22.86 for the 2018-2019 school year, effective July 1st, 2018. And item 7 is recommended by the Superintendent and Board of Education approves the contract revision for Stacy Lambert to reflect an hourly salary rate of $21.50 for the 2018-2019 school year, effective July 1st, 2018. Need a second on those?
Second.
Any comments?
I have a question, 4 and 5, what were their previous FTEs?
Mr. Carroll was a .5, and Ms. So sorry I was at .80.
All right, good.
Anything else? Okay. Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Radcliffe?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Mrs. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Beely?
Yes.
Okay, items 8 and 9 together. 8 is recommended by the Superintendent Board of Education approve the appointment of James Sett as a teacher of special education effective September 1st, 2018 for the 2018-2019 school year at BA Step 1 on the 2017-2018 teacher salary guide pending receipt of all required paperwork. And item 9 is recommended by the Superintendent of the Board of Education approves the following mentor for provisional teacher listed and authorized payroll deduction payments for mentor fees during the 2018-2019 school year, and that is as listed. Second. Second. Thank you. Any comments? None?
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Radcliffe?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Beely?
Yes.
Okay, I'll move items 10 through 17 together. 10 is recommended the Board of Education approves the appointment of part-time school security officer listed below for the 2018-2019 school year at the hourly rate of $25, not to exceed 25 hours per week, pending receipt of all required paperwork, named James Weiss. Item 11 is recommended by the Superintendent of the Board of Education approves the bus drivers for extended school year program for 20 days during the months of July as listed. Item 12 is recommended by the Superintendent of the Board of Education approves the appointment of Donna Lembo and Caroline Bodder-Tynall as the after-school media center chaperones effective for the 2018-2019 school year at the hourly rate of $20. Item 13 is recommended by the Superintendent of the Board of Education approves the following revisions for the summer custodian workers as listed there. 14 is recommended the Board of Education approves the appointment of the following individual as a substitute teacher effective immediately for the remainder of the 2017-2018 school year. Was it Kayla Albrecht? Item 15 is recommended that the Board of Education approves summer work days for staff members as detailed in attachment B1. Item 16 is recommended the Board of Education approves the assignment of the following individuals offering summer math tutoring at the rate of $40 per hour, not to exceed $2,500 total, as part of our RTI credit retrieval program paid for through federal Every Student Succeeds Act funding. Kate Panfili, Jill Retz, and Kristen Sabo. And finally, item 17 is recommended that the Board of Education approves the appointment of the following individuals as substitute teachers effective for the 2018-2019 school year for the purpose of coaching. Brittany Lima and Vincent Marchesson.
Second.
Thank you. Any comments on any of those? Discussion? None?
Mr. Radcliffe?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Connor?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Boyke?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Beely?
Yes.
And we have an addendum, items 18 and 19. I guess I could move them earlier, but I will move them now together. 18 is recommended that the Board of Education accepts the resignation of Kate Panfili as a teacher of mathematics effective June 30th, 2018 for the 2018-2019 school year. And item 19 is recommended by the Superintendent that the Board of Education approves the appointment of Kate Panfili as a tutor effective July 1st, 2018 through September 1st, 2018, offering summer math tutoring at the rate of $40 per hour as part of our RTI credit retrieval program.
Second.
Any discussion on those two?
I would just like to say that Kate has done an exceptional job as a teacher here in both the special education department and the mathematics department. She is a part of the community and loves math, loves her students, and I think has done an exceptional job. And I think that where she's going is getting an exceptional educator. And I would like to thank her for her time here. I would like her for her to know how much she was appreciated and respected And I would just like to say congratulations, and we'll miss you even if you're not that far away. Congratulations.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Ms. Conrad,
Yes.
Mr. Notaro,
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
Mr. Woodview,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Ancliffe,
Yes.
Mr. Beely.
Yes. Okay, the extracurricular, approve items 1 through 5. Number 1, being recommended by the superintendent of the Board of Education to accept the following extracurricular resignations for the 18-19 school year as listed. Number 2, recommended by the superintendent of the Board of Ed, approve Todd Van Horn as a volunteer assistant football coach for the 18-19 school year. Number 3, recommended by the superintendent of the Board of Education, approve the following athletic co-curricular appointments for the 18-19 school year as listed. Number 4, recommended by the superintendent of the Board of Education, approve the formation of a girls volleyball team beginning as a JV level program for the fall 2018 season. And number 5, recommended by the superintendent of the Board of Education, approve the reinstatement of the debate team for the 18-19 school year at category A level and equal to the academic team on the extracurricular salary guide listed with collective bargaining agreement. Need a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on 1 through 5?
I have a question for for Jim. These have all been budgeted for, next year's budget?
I will have to double check. I assume so. I would have to double check each and every one because I wouldn't want to say yes in this one.
The debate was not volleyball will need to be discussed between the association and the Board of Ed to determine the appropriate allocation for that position. Neither of those positions was in the budget that was approved in April.
But we'll be able to handle that, or we wouldn't be agreed to put it on the agenda.
I would say every year there's a little more and a little less. We budget for a lot of extracurricular and co-curricular positions, and then when the year shakes out, some go up, some go down, some get filled, some do not. But I'll double check.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Ms. Conrad,
Yes.
Mr. Notaro,
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe,
I'm going to abstain until I find out about the budget.
okay. Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
Mr. Voight,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Ancliffe,
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Mr. Beely.
Yes. Okay, there are no policy items before us. Negotiations, just to repeat what Carla said earlier, we are waiting to hear back on dates for mediation. Moving on to buildings and grounds, I know that there was a discussion. Why don't we have
You're on. Okay. So this week in committee, we had some discussion on buildings and grounds, and then the following day, finance committee. And in the next section, we're asked to approve some monies, maintenance reserve to do improvements in the West Gym that we talked about. And those improvements are finishing the floor, painting, upgrading the lighting, bleachers, and I think some wall panels. So we kind of discussed that in buildings and grounds, and we touched a little bit about the ceiling, about kind of the acoustical treatment of that ceiling. And I think initially some of the estimates came in higher than we expected, so we were kind of going to put it on the shelf for now. Then we talked a little bit more about it in finance committee the next day, and I think the general consensus was we asked Dr. Rickle to kind of revisit the acoustical treatment of that ceiling, just because if we're in there this summer doing all the work on that space, knowing that space gets used very heavily now, the way we use it with unit lunch and other activities, obviously on nights and weekends and everything. So we're just going to revisit the acoustical panel treatment of that space and to see if we can get it to really be have the same look and feel as the main gym is the goal. So that's one of those to be continued type of items. I just want to let you know from buildings and grounds it kind of went into finance and more a little bit, but we still want to kind of look at that to see if that's possible, obviously, and if it is, they'll update us so that we can financially do that. So,
Mr. Miller, I actually have an update.
Yeah.
We met with the with our architect and with the individual, one of the individuals we'll be doing some of the work in that area. And we discussed the fact that the ceiling would not require, as we believed it would, those Tectum plates, and that the treatment of the walls would be the better option, which we had already discussed. And they said that the concerns that we had discussed would not be realized if with the ceiling not having those. What we heard would have been very expensive treatments. And so they stated that the concerns over like an echo chamber would not exist if we did have them go up the walls as we had so chosen. So we had a great conversation today. We talked about the ceiling and that we don't need to do that, thankfully, because that would have been not a small ticket item. And we also talked about the bleachers and the usability or the utility of that area, because we are utilizing it for not only wrestling and basketball, but also for particularly wrestling, but also for community groups. And so if anyone's been in a wrestling match in there, it's not conducive for the number of fans that we get for wrestling. So what we've done is we discussed having more seating available for that location. And if you've been in there now, that seating is not conducive for anyone's comfort or for a lot of people. And too many people end up standing on the sidelines and standing 3, 4, 5, 6 people deep. And so what we did was we added another row of the bleachers. They will look like the others without the HP treatment, but they will add seating, and it will be far more usable space, particularly when we have wrestling tournaments or matches in there that are so important to our community and our district. Me included.
Did they say anything more about the fact that we could not remove everything from the ceiling and paint the ceiling the same way, or is that just?
They're going to paint the ceiling the same colors.
So the drop ceiling is no longer an issue there? They're going to take it out?
They're going to paint the existing ceiling. It looks nice, but they're going to paint it to match. The drop ceiling would have looked like this.
That's what they said, that when we talked about this first time through, that we're going to have to put in a lower ceiling.
Right.
Good, okay,
I
good.
must have missed that meeting.
Yes, you did.
I would have been.
Yeah,
The goal is to have it look like the other gym, and they've assured us that that is what will occur.
It's going to be the same painter. Turns out the same painter was gave us the best quote. So just familiar with colors, you can match them.
Just another update, I'm sorry. The bleachers, however, will not be in on September 1. The existing bleachers will be removed, and they will not, the manufacturer will not be able to provide the bleachers until sometime in October, but we made arrangements to not overly impact school or students. And so we met at length today to discuss that. I'm sorry to give you an update, Calvin. But we feel confident that it will be ready and implemented efficiently.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to finance. I will do items 1 through 15. Number 1 being recommended that the board accept the report of the board secretary of the PA for the month of May, section G1. Number 2, recommended that we accept the report of the treasurer for the month of May, attachment G2. Number 3, recommended that the board approve the report of transfers, the minimum expense transfer report for the month of May, attachment G3A and G3B. Number 4, recommended that the board approve the payment of the attached schedule of quarterly bills dated June 19, 2018, attachment G4. Number 5, recommended that the board accept the agency account, adult education, athletic account, cafeteria account, principal business cash, school store and student account for the month of May 2018, attachment 5. Number 6, recommended that the board approve the tax schedules for the 18-19 school year, attachment G6. Number 7, recommended that the board approve to beat out from our media center the libraries and books on the attached list and attachment G7. Number 8, recommended that we approve an agreement with the Sussex County Educational Services Commission for ancillary educational services as needed for the school year. Number 9, recommended the board approve an agreement with Biata Home Health Care to provide substitute nurses for the 18-19 school year on an as-needed basis at the rate of $60 an hour for an RA, $50 an hour for LPN. Number 10, recommended the board approve an agreement with the Educational Services Commission of Morris County to provide auxiliary handicap services pursuant to PL 1977, chapters 192 and 193 for the 18-19 school year on an as-needed basis. Number 11, recommended the board approve an agreement with the Educational Services Commission of Morris County to provide health and environmental safety services as needed for the 18-19 school year at the annual cost of $7,338. Number 12 is recommended the board approve the renewal of the service contract with Water Management Services, Inc. to provide wastewater treatment plant services for the 18-19 school year at the cost of $2,700 per month, plus additional costs for additional services as indicated in the agreement. Number 13, recommended the board approve removing the attached list of old outstanding checks in the net pay account and the money be moved back to the general fund account. These checks are between 3 to 5 years old. Attached to 8. Number 14, recommended the board approve the following tuition contract between High Point as the sending in the following districts as listed in related information. Number 15 is recommended the board approve the School Alliance Insurance Fund renewal for 18-19 as follows. Whereas High Point Regional Board of Education, hereafter referred to as the Education Facility, is a member of the School Alliance Insurance Fund and hereinafter referred to as Fund. And whereas said renewal membership terminates July 1, 2018 at 12:01 a.m. Standard Time unless earlier renewed by agreement between the Education Facility and Fund. And whereas the Education Facility is for the following types of coverages as and whereas the Education Facility desires to renew said membership, now therefore be resolved as follows. The Educational Facility agrees to renew its membership to the fund for a period of 3 years beginning July 1, 2018 and ending July 1, 2021 at 12:01 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and be subject to the coverages, operating procedures, bylaws, and other organizational and operational documents of the fund presently existing, whereas from time to time amended by the fund and the Department of Insurance. Number 2, the Education Facility business official, James Minkowitz, is hereby appointed as the Educational Facilities Fund Commissioner and is authorized to execute the renewal indemnity and trust agreement thereby evidencing annexed hereto and made a part hereof and to deliver same to the Fund the Educational Facilities renewal of its membership. I need a motion 1 through 15. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on 1 through 15?
Number 9, substitute nurses. In the past year, how many times were we required to need a substitute nurse? Off the top of your head.
Mr. Talman, would you be able to respond to that? How many times we need it? Depends on during the school day or for trips. It's not, it is a number of times. I wouldn't.
Yeah, I can't say, Sarah, off the top of my head. There are a lot of times we've had to have a substitute nurse come in, whether it be for field trip, medical needs that a student may require for a nurse to be on the field trip, or just a day in the office that we need to have a substitute in that office for Mrs. Jackson. Off the top of my head, I don't know the exact number, but there was quite a few times. Yep.
There was one occasion earlier in the year when Vernon was able to accommodate our request and send one of the nurses to fulfill to work here for the day.
Any other discussion?
The need for substitute nurses grows, particularly when student needs for field trips is becoming a degree where it does challenge our ability sometimes at the last minute to be able to have a nurse available for field trips, particularly overnight field trips.
All right, roll call.
Mr. Kehoe.
Yes.
Mr. Dunn.
Yes.
Mr. Woodchuck.
Yes.
Mr. Miller.
Yes.
Mr. Eckler.
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson.
Yes.
Ms. Carter.
Yes.
Mr. Notaro.
Yes, everything but 9. No.
Mr. Beal.
Yes. Number 16, be it resolved, the board approve the following resolution for money to the capital reserve at the end of the 17th school year, whereas NJSA 18A21-2 and NJSA 18A7G31 and NJSA 18A7F41 permit the Board of Education to establish interdepositing the certain reserve accounts during and whereas the aforementioned statute authorized procedures under the authority of the Commissioner of Education with the Board of Education transfer unanticipated excess current revenue and unexpended appropriations in the reserve accounts during the month of June by board resolution, whereas High Point Regional High School Board of Education wishes to transfer unanticipated excess current year revenue or unexpended appropriations from the general fund into the capital reserve account at year end, whereas the High Point Regional High School Board of Education has determined that amount not to exceed $550,000 is available for such purpose of transfer. Now therefore be it resolved, High Point Regional High School Board of Education is hereby authorizes the district school business administrator to make this transfer consistent with all laws and regulations. Need motion.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion on 16? All right, roll call.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Voicu?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Ancliffe?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Conner?
Yes.
Mr. Natal?
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe?
Yes.
Ms. Field?
Yes. And number 17, recommended that the Board of Education approve the student workers, Kayla Clinton and Sarah Woolery, to assist with lighting for a recital by Synergy Dance Company on June 2, 2018, at an hourly rate of $8.60. No cost for student helpers is billed to Synergy Dance along with the cost of the use of the facility. Seeking motion.
So moved.
Discussion on 17?
The reason why this was formerly occurred was because they recognized at the last minute after it was already approved that they had requested our ability to be able to provide students who understood and could help them. And so they are bearing the cost, but because the initial cost will go through board funds, it needed to be approved. That's why it was after the fact.
Roll call.
Mr. Voicu?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Ancliffe?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Conner?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Veely?
Yes. Number 18, withdrawal of maintenance reserve, whereas NJSA 6A23A and 14.2B permits the Board of Education to withdraw such funds from the maintenance reserve account appropriation to the required maintenance account lines at budget time and any time during the year for use on required maintenance activities for a school facility as reported in the comprehensive maintenance plan pursuant to NJSA 6A26A-4, whereas the aforementioned statutes authorize the procedures under the authority of the Commissioner of Education, which permit the Board of Education to withdraw funds from the district's maintenance reserve account at any time during the year by resolution, and whereas the High Point Board of Education is desirous to withdraw funds from the maintenance reserve account, appropriate said funds into the required maintenance account line in the 1819 general fund in the amount of $57,762 for the comprehensive maintenance of the West Gymnasium, whereas according to 6I23A 14.2E, High Point Board of Education shall restore any unexpended required maintenance appropriations of the amount of the maintenance reserve account fund withdrawn to the maintenance reserve account at year end. Now therefore be it resolved by the High Point Board of Ed that it hereby authorizes the district school business administrator to make the necessary transfer consistent with all of the laws and regulations. Need a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on 18? Is there any added cost to the change or anything? That's
Assuming would have been on top of this.
okay. So this is right. Yeah, it is. It is good today. Right. All right. Awesome. All right. Roll call.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Mr. Ancliffe?
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson?
Yes.
Ms. Conner?
Yes.
Mr. Notaro?
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe?
Yes.
Mr. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Voicu?
Yes.
Mr. Veely?
Yes. Group 19 through 22. Number 19 is recommended the board approve the disposal of the following textbooks. Group 20 is recommended that the board approve the disposal of the following items based on the item on both deals as listed. 21, recommended the board approve the list of surplus property to be sold to Gov Deals. Be resolved that the board approve the following resolution authorizing the sale of surplus property on Gov Deals. And 22, recommended that the board grant permission to the High Point Wrestling Camp, John Gardner, to host the Mount Affiliated Co-Ed Wrestling Camp, which will run July 30 and 31, 2018, August 1 and 2, 2018, during the hours of 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And the camp will be self-supporting and will charge $50 per participant. See a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on 19 through 22? Roll call.
Mr. Ancliffe,
Yes.
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Ms. Carmen,
Yes.
Mr. Notaro,
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
Mr. Boyku,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Veely.
Yes. Transportation.
I'd like to move items number 1 and 2. Number 1 is recommended by the superintendent that the board approves the following joint transportation agreements with the Northern Region Educational Services Commission for the remainder of the 2017-18 school year. Where the host is Northern Region ESC, the joiner is High Point Regional High School. That route is 13881F. The next is where the host is again the Northern Region ESC. Again, the joiner is High Point Regional High School, and that route is WILOP1. Item number 2, it is recommended by the superintendent that the board approves the following joint transportation agreement for the remainder of the 2017-18 school year. Where High Point is the host, the joiner is Paulsboro Schools, and that's for route number WIL0P1, looking for a second.
Second.
Any discussion? That'll be the end of the year. There's only 2 items.
Mrs. Anderson,
Yes.
Ms. Carmen,
Yes.
Mr. Notaro,
Yes.
Mr. Kehoe,
Yes.
Mr. Dunn,
Yes.
Mr. Boyku,
Yes.
Mr. Miller,
Yes.
Mr. Ancliffe,
Yes.
Mr. Veely.
Yes. Okay, legal. We have nothing before us that we can discuss. No correspondence other than our annual retirement recognition luncheon that was placed out. Yes.
We did get a thank you letter.
Yeah.
Did we leave it on
Oh,
the
yeah,
desk?
we did. We left it in the
Left it on the
boardroom.
desk.
Go ahead, Mrs.
A
Mayor.
thank you letter from Sam Beatty, who was our recipient for our scholarship, senior scholarship night. It was lovely written. I'm sorry I can't read it to you because I left it on the desk in time. But she's very grateful to us and is planning to use it when she goes to, I think, American University. Oh, Catherine, yeah. Anyway, she's going and she's happy and she's grateful. So it was a nice letter.
And miscellaneous, the annual retirement recognition luncheon. There it is. Will be held on Thursday, June 21st, 2018. All right, we can go to public comments now. Same rule applies. So thank you for your address. Sorry for making you wait this entire time.
I probably could have gone before, but I'm Gail Sedona, 14 Orchard Street, Branchville, Frankfurt Township, I guess you said. I care about what happens at High Point because my kids are going to be here in like 4 to 6 years, and I'm also, part of the community and a taxpayer, and I'm concerned about my property values. A lot of people move to High Point because they hear of the great school district and the sense of community. That's, I grew up in Freedom, but I came here because I knew that. But I've expressed my concern before about Mr. Brizzi leaving, and I was concerned about how that position was going to be filled, and this is why I probably should have addressed it before. I'm really concerned about some of the combinations of the administration that I see. Can I get a copy of, or find out how to access the new job descriptions for some of those positions? Because like I see the attachment of A7, A8, A9, and A10, it just seems overwhelming to me. And we've already lost 2 very valuable administrators, and again, part of the community, and I'd hate to see more people leave because of being overwhelmed and everything. I also noticed that there have been a lot of rifts or unfilled positions through attrition in the past couple of years, and I understand that, it can be legitimatized by the client student population, but is the decrease in staff, I'm asking the question, I don't know if you want me to email this question to you and have you respond to me or whatnot, but is the decrease in staff proportionate to the decline in population? It just seems extreme where it seems to be going, and so it's very concerning. It's also concerning that the union contract has not been settled, it expires at the end of the month, and I'm wondering what the sticking point is, what's holding up and making it go to mediation. And along those lines, what % of your budget has increased over the past few years? There's that 2% cap. How close are you coming to that? Because there's been a lot of cuts going on and through attrition and whatnot. and you're going to mediation as if you can't afford these things, but it's hard for me to believe that that's necessarily the situation. And I understand the need for school safety, I appreciate the idea of security officers, but I noticed that you have an increase, that you've increased the staff in this over the past couple of years, and that you're going to have several officers in the school at one time, and that's a big cost. I'd like to know how much of that, how much is that costing the school? Because you're making all these cuts otherwise, and I understand the need for security, but it seems a bit extreme. And in the same respect, you've been decreasing the guidance of the counseling staff in the past years. And, you know, if you look at any kind of talk about school shootings and everything, and if that's your concern, you really need to be proactive. We also have social media is going crazy in light of what happened a week and a half ago. You know, schools are a source for parents to get help. And not to say that that was the situation is that there's so many things and so many parents who need help and need resources offered to them. And you need to be proactive with counseling. I see a decrease in that, but security is not the answer in my eyes anyway. And so I want to know how you justify that you're increasing the security but decreasing the guidance of the staff counseling. And really, you have the purpose stated in the beginning of your board minutes there about how you want to create good members and productive members of society. But education isn't a business where you can just put students into a math formula, put students into a place and give them curriculum, add curriculum, and expect them to come out productive members of society. You need programs and caring and supported faculty to implement those programs. It's not a business where you just plug in this little formula and make cuts and expect everything to go along well. And I'm just really concerned that when my kids get here, that they're going to have a supported school system and be a part of the community. So I just hope that you're really thinking about it, and I want questions to these answers as a community member, and concerned that my kids are going to be coming out here. Thank you.
Anybody else? Public comment? All right, non-committee board member reports and comments. Do you want to bring up your, no? All right, I'm good with it.
Well, I will confess my sins that
That's what you want to do.
I missed the Ed Services Commission meeting of last Monday. And I was very concerned, and I emailed them, but I never heard. I said, what's going to happen? I'm so sorry I missed this. And now what happens to us? We missed the mandatory meeting, and it's been a week, and nobody has responded to my apology or concerns, so I don't know if it means anything. I tried hard, but I just didn't make it this time. If anybody wants to fire me from that and then take that position, go right ahead. But I missed the Ed Services Commission meeting, so, and they haven't yelled at me yet. I don't know. Have you heard anything? Did the superintendent from that facility contact you to report my delinquency? Okay. Again, I apologize to all. I just
wanted to make sure that if the High Point Education Foundation is participating in the retirement recognition luncheon, is that my understanding? And I just want to make sure that I recognize that publicly and what an asset, and hopefully we can continue to work closely with the Ed Foundation to support our district. And I want to thank the Ed Foundation very much for their role. Particularly, I've seen it really increase of late, and I think that that's attributed to the members of the Ed Foundation. So thank you very much, the High Point Education Foundation.
All right, we'll go on to other business.
If I could just make one comment, I'd be remiss. Earlier on, you mentioned that we're adding James Sack as to the team up here, and I was no part of the decision making, had no say in it. However, I did have the pleasure and privilege of watching Rob from a young boy to a grown man, and he was truly a leader, a great individual, a quality person. I hopefully he's as good a teacher as he is a person. I think he made a very wise choice.
We're very excited to have him and think that he will be an asset to the community of the district. Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, need a motion to adjourn.
So moved. All in favor?
Opposed?